Men, we all know this. There's an economy here between men and women. It's an economy. The men, what do you have to offer? You have to offer resources and experience, and you can bring security. And the women, they have youth and they have beauty, and they can make your life exciting, and you can have friendship and romance. There is a trade to be had, whether you're in the West or whether you're here in Asia. Welcome to another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines from Cagayan de Oro, Mindanao, Philippines. Who is most desired in the Philippines? Is it possible that it's me and not my beautiful 31-year-old fiance, Chrissy? How does something like this occur? What is so magical about the Philippines? I'm going to talk to you about scarcity and abundance and how to get your mindset screwed on right. Then, stick around. I'm going to share with you the 5 most common questions I get asked as part of my private consultation service. I'm going to give you the 5 most asked questions and answers at the end of this video, so stick around. In the Philippines, is it possible that you're the prize? Is it possible that I'm the most desirable person? I'm the hot commodity, the hot property, the guy with all the bang? It is possible. In the Philippines, an income of $3,000 to $4,000 a month is going to put you in the higher end of upper middle class, almost rich. A worldly Western look, a knowledgeable man with mature experience who can come to an island nation like the Philippines and bring with you a positive attitude is going to make you the man. You're the lottery ticket. I have men that I talk to in my consulting practice. They're 55 years old. They're fit. They have a full head of hair. They have the ability to retire from state or government or military pensions. They're not the lottery ticket. They are the Powerball. They are the prize. And it's really important for you to understand how you've been living in the West in a scarcity environment, a scarcity mentality. Now, in the West, there is a particular problem of scarcity versus abundance. If you've been living in the West and you're one of these invisible men in his 50s or 60s or early 70s, and you can't get a gorgeous 40-year-old or 30-year-old to notice you, the women that you're interested in are not responding to your entreaties on online dating sites or in person, well, there's a reason for that. There's a scarcity environment between men and women in the West. You need to be in the top 12% of men, 12% for you to be considered in an abundance environment. If you're not the top 12% of best looking and best to do in business and money, if you are not top 12% in resources, top 12% in handsome, you are operating in a scarcity environment. Now, if you're lucky enough to be all that, you've got unbelievable money. You know, you're the doctor with the $100,000 Mercedes and you are really good looking, smart. Well, you have an abundance of available women. And that's why so many of these men end up in second marriages in their late 30s and early 40s, and they have trophy wives back in the West. But if you're a normal man, the 88% of men, you are not in the top 12%. And operating in a scarcity environment in online dating apps, dating in person, you are going to face rejection. You are going to face scarcity. And this can affect your confidence. It can affect your outlook. And when you are making plans for your future, you don't want to rely on this negative environment, this experience that you're suffering through in your home country, where rejection and people looking their nose down on you and people making themselves appear as they're so valuable when you are having to shop for a partner in this scarcity environment. A scarcity mentality is going to lead to resentment, anxiety, and you're going to feel like some of the potential partners are showing a lot of entitlement because they are the ones in the abundance environment. When you interact with people and they're in an abundance environment and you're in a scarcity environment, it's a very unpleasant experience. And I know that you're feeling that. I know I did when I was back in the West. In contrast, when you pivot and you focus on Asia, you focus on an environment like the Philippines, now you are in an abundance environment. And this creates confidence. This creates a self-worth. This allows you to be selective. It gives you a sense of calm. There's no anxiety. There's no rush to latch on to the first beautiful woman you meet. You might want to find out if she's both beautiful inside and out before you latch on. You are the prize. You are the lottery ticket, and you might even be the Powerball. So in this abundance environment, you don't have to be in the top 12% of good-looking men. Bring your dad body here to the Philippines, and you will be in the top 12%. You will be in the top 12% of earners. You will also be in the top 12% of intriguing looks. Filipinas, Asian women find your Western looks extremely attractive. I've mentioned before, they showed 9 different men to the bunch of Japanese women, and they picked the guy that looked like Carrot Top. That's what they found attractive. So what you think is attractive here in the Philippines is not exactly what is the reality. Your dad body, your warm personality, your sense of humor, your long nose, even your thinning hair, they are going to find that attractive, and they're going to see you as a top 12% man, and you will be the most desired. Ultimately, an abundance mindset is a choice. You need to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. You need to be confident in yourself. You need to understand the economy that you're now operating in. When you go online in the Philippines, when you come to the Philippines or Thailand, you need to have self-confidence. You need to make a choice. You need to understand that you are the prize. Your experience, your resources is what the women are looking for. They will gain status when they catch you, when they find you, when you decide to make them your girlfriend. Their status in their family, in their neighborhood, in their barangay, it will shoot way up. And God forbid they lose you. They will lose status rapidly for having let something slip through their hands. They're not going to very quickly let their friends and family know that they had a foreigner with resources and with experience and a person who had made a career for himself slip through their hands. That's not what they want. So when you do choose, make sure you're choosing from a place of confidence. Make sure that you have no stress, no anxiety. You're not rushing into things. You're not letting people play games with you, and you're not sending money to people because otherwise you won't have another woman come your way. You'll be calm. You'll be self-loving. You'll be confident. And you'll be in an abundance mindset. When you are in a scarcity mindset, one of the things that is a very perilous situation is you become needy. If you're looking for resources and only 12% of the men are in abundance, 88% are scrambling around. It's like musical chairs with very, very few chairs. Well, that neediness is very hard to disguise. And women really dislike a man who acts needy, and it can really turn off women. We've all experienced it. When I first got divorced and I tried to study how to date, I learned that when you go on a date at dinner, you're not supposed to lean forward in your chair. They're called men at restaurants. They're all leaning forward, like treating the woman like she's the prize, putting her on a pedestal. They're called lonely losers. When I went on dates, I learned I had to stick my back to the chair and never lean forward. I had to act confident. I had to act like I was the one making the selection. Women get turned on by that, and they get turned off by a man who acts needy. When you pivot and when you bring your search to Asia, to the Philippines, to Thailand, Malaysia, Korea, to Japan, you have to make sure that you are no longer bringing that neediness with you. The reason so many of these online romance scams and these women sending fake passports and telling you grandma's in the hospital, the reason they're so successful is because men make the mistake. They think that they are going to date the same way they did in the West, where they're part of the 88% and there's a scarcity of good women and they have to treat all women like a prize. They pivot towards Asia and they bring that mindset of neediness with them, and they get taken advantage of because they haven't made the change. And what we want to do is we want to recognize that in Asia, a large age gap. Like I have a 37-year age gap with Chrissy. I'm the prize. She's drop dead gorgeous. I'm the prize. She sings karaoke like no tomorrow. I'm the prize. She's highly educated. I'm the prize. I'm the resource that's really hard to find. There is an abundance of, now maybe there are not too many exactly like Chrissy. I might have gotten a little luckier than the average guy, and there could be quite a bit of luck involved, but in general, there are an abundance of available women here. And how you meet one and how you change your mindset and become highly selective. Think about it. If you were a multimillionaire in the West, you would be highly selective of the woman that you would allow to share that life with you. The yacht, the mansion in Beverly Hills, the international travel, the wardrobe you would provide her. Are you just going to give that to the first woman who shows you any friendship, or are you going to be highly selective? Now that you're in Asia, you have to have that type of mindset. You are the prize. You are the one doing the choosing. You need to be highly selective. And I've said before, the number one reason men struggle and they fail is that they are not persistent, they're not patient, and they haven't realized that they are the one doing the choosing. They need to be highly selective. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be the kind of guy that has 8 women lined up and you're lying to all 8 women. It doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to conduct it like a job interview, but you need to perform a search. You need to market yourself. You need to get seen. You need to not only love yourself, but you need to have true feelings for the type of woman you're really looking for. And that means a need to have list, a nice to have list, and a deal breaker list. And number one on the deal breaker list is if she asks for money. Get rid of her immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. On the nice to have list would be a woman whose family members are working, maybe a religious woman, maybe a woman who's highly educated, maybe a woman who's from a city you might want to retire in, maybe a woman who wants to come to the West to be with you, or maybe a woman who doesn't want to come to the West and would allow you to retire like I do here in the Philippines. It's a total mindset. And so one of the biggest challenges that we face is we're back in the West. We're watching YouTube channels like mine. I thank you for watching, and others. And you're getting a little master's degree in Philippines, in Thailand. You're learning how much $1,500 a month budget could get you. You're learning, well, with $3,000 a month, you could live in a house like this, and you could have a lifestyle where you're golfing every week, and you're going to the beach, and you've got expat friends, and you're going to the waterfalls, and you're enjoying a home for 1/4 of the price that maybe you would in California overlooking the Pacific Ocean. You're learning what's possible, but what you don't know is the unknowns. Nobody ever really learns the unknowns until you arrive and your plan, like Mike Tyson says, no plan really lasts longer than a punch in the face. So you're developing a plan. And now you're going to go online and you're pivoting from a scarcity environment. You're an 88%er. You're going to pivot to an environment where you're a 12%er. You are it. You are the man. You are what everybody wants to meet. And now, what's the problem? Why is there such a big problem? Well, you're going to go online to an online dating app. And I'll give you a little bonus ahead of time. The number one question people ask me is, which dating site is the best? Which one should I go to? Which one of these apps works the best for me? And it's a little bit like asking which casino in Atlantic City is the best, which casino in Vegas is. Now, there are some casinos where the meals are more expensive and the decor is a little fancier, but at the end of the day, it's a casino. And until you hit a jackpot, your experience it'll suck. It'll be awful. And when I went online 6 years ago, I stayed online for 3 months. I had a horrible experience. It sucked. Then I went online again 3 years ago. I had a horrible experience. It sucked. When I went online this time, I went online for 4 days, and for 4 days, it sucked. But on the 5th day, I met Chrissy, and boom, boom, boom. It's like the jackpot. I'm standing in the middle of the casino, and all the bells and whistles are going off, and I'm going, what, me? I won? How did it happen? It's too good to be true. Was I really in a selective mindset? I'm not sure that I had taken myself properly into that selective mindset, but the fact that it was sucking was because I wasn't settling. I had in mind a woman like Chrissy, and until I met her, I wasn't going to settle. I wasn't going to go sideways. Now, I do think Tinder in the Philippines is not the place to meet marriage material. That's where you're going to find the girl most likely to have a tattoo here in Asia. And so I'm not an expert on this, but I just don't believe. I've heard from people that, they were on Tinder and they met their wife very quickly. It can happen. But I just think it's the wrong kind of woman here in the Philippines in particular, where people are a little bit more conservative. I don't think you'll get a modern woman of the type that you would get back in the West. You might get someone just a little looser and way more liberal than the average woman here. So if you're looking for an old school girlfriend, I would stay away from that. A lot of people meet girls on Facebook, friends of friends and friend requests. And once you start joining groups or making posts or having a few Filipino friends, their friends will come to you. So more on the top 5 questions most asked coming up. But let's talk about this scarcity and abundance issue. You're pivoting from scarcity to abundance. And what happens is you go online, let's say you go on Filipino Cupid or Christian Filipina or Dating in Asia. And what happens? There is a scarcity of real women. It doesn't make sense. You've pivoted out of a scarcity environment into an abundance environment, and you run right into scarcity. Why? Well, the women who are trying to make a living, the scammers, and the women who want 3 and 4 Western men to send $200 a month, they are the majority. I don't know if it's 50%. Some of the vloggers that have been doing this for 10 years say there's only 15% real women like Chrissy to be found on these sites. So there's a scarcity of real opportunity. Now, there may be thousands and tens of thousands of women on these dating sites. So even if it's 15 or 30 or 40%, there is an abundance of women who will find your dad bod and your thinning hair and your sense of humor acceptable and even desirable. And when they meet you and when you latch onto them, they're going to think they won the lottery, if not the Powerball. So the problem is on these online dating sites, the people who will contact you, well, they are 99% the wrong people. Those people who reach out to you, invite you to go video chat them immediately on another platform, go into a group chat immediately. They look like models from Ukraine. They're not Filipinas. They're not the people you want to meet. Women with tattoos might not be who you want to meet. Very aggressive women who are contacting you might not be what you're looking for. You're probably looking for an old school girlfriend, like a 1960s woman, the one who's going to care for you and value the relationship, and her sense of entitlement is going to be under control. I think that's what you're looking for. And those women exist, and they do exist online. Now, it may be that you don't meet anybody online and you have to come to the Philippines. And we've talked about this before. If you need to come to the Philippines, you will find an abundance of women. However, a lot of the women you're looking for will be working, and it can be a little challenging. So I break it down into 3 categories. A, you use patience, persistence, and you have a little bit of luck, and you actually get a bingo or a jackpot in the casino. And even though there's 20% real women, you actually find one, and you find one you want to love and live with and marry the rest of your life. B, you come to the Philippines without a prospect. You struck out. And I recommend you just go right to Cebu City, to the IT park, and book a week before, and don't book anything else. Just play it by ear after 1 week. Now, I might still fly into Manila, and we'll talk about that later. And 3, you come for 6 months or longer, and you settle in, you start playing golf, you start scuba diving, you meet the expats, you go to the expat community meetings, and all of a sudden, you meet a lot of Filipinas in your daily routine, in your housing complex, in your area of socialization. You meet the other expats, and they're Filipinas. They're not stupid. They find out there's a lottery ticket roaming around town, a good-looking Western man, a man with some means, and they're going to start introducing you to their cousins. We had some expats visit us in Cagayan de Oro a couple of weeks ago, and there were several introductions made by people we know. There was a 21-year-old Filipina who was introduced to our friend Peter. People were making introductions, and that's going to be the abundance, the full abundance. When you come here and you're here 6 months, you will be in 100% abundance territory. And all you got to do is be selective. Like our friend Peter, he said he wasn't in a big hurry. You know, he went off to Camigat Island, then he went to Bohol. He just arrived in Dumaguete this morning. He's going to meet somebody for sure. He's not in a big hurry, but he's operating in a total abundance environment. And he is smart. He has an abundance mindset. He knows he's the prize. He knows he can be selective. He knows there's a lot of women who desire him. That's what's going on here in the Philippines. So if you're online, your biggest challenge is to ignore the people who write you. Maybe some girl winks at you or sends you a heart, and it's worth a little bit of investigation. But the rule is, if it looks too good to be true, it's too good to be true. It's like those crypto investments and all these other get-rich-quick schemes. When it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Now, when I wrote Chrissy and she wrote me back, I thought it was too good to be true. And I proceeded with all kinds of caution. I just didn't believe I was that lucky. And she met the criteria I had for being selective. And very, very quickly, I realized I'd found something special. And you'll hear that from a lot of guys. You know, I have a friend, he was online and dating in Asia for 5 days. And he met a 25-year-old who said she wasn't going to date a divorced man. She would only date a single man or a widow. She was online for 4 hours. She put her profile online. She went to work. She came back to her profile at lunch. Boom, she met this friend of mine. He'd been online 5 days. There it is. You know, he was 59, so and he had hair, and he was a good-looking guy, and they're happily married. They have a child now here in the Philippines. Stories like that abound. You can get very, very lucky, and you can be selective at the same time. You are highly desired. As a man, you're going to walk around. The world is your oyster. There is an abundance here, and you need to find an abundance mentality. Now, I told you that I would tell you the top 5 questions that I'm asked. And I already shared one with you, which is, which dating site should you choose? You know, I do private consultations. They're 90 minutes for just $50 at this point in introductory. I make them 90 minutes because I like to talk, and I'm going to use 30 of those minutes to enjoy myself and tell you some stories. And I don't want to just give you a 60-minute hour and play psychologist or travel advisor. I want to be able to have a little friendly conversation with you. And I get asked a lot of the same questions. And to be honest with you, we have this video, the 90-day plan, and I would say 90% of what's talked about on my consulting calls, 90% of the things people want reassurance about, I actually cover in that 90-day plan. So I encourage everybody to watch the 90-day plan and to watch the 30-day exploration. That's if, you know, you haven't met a Filipina and you just decide, I'm coming anyway. Now, let's talk about the other 4 most frequently asked questions when people pay for consultations. And number 1 is, how do I handle my money in the Philippines? And so I'm going to go through it quickly because I have other videos that cover some of these in more depth. But basically, do not bring a large quantity of cash. I recommend you bring 3 $100 bills. Take 2 of these $100 bills, hide them in a chapstick container, put an X on it so you know never to throw it away. Put the other $100 bill in your magnetic wallet or in your phone case just as emergency money. You don't ever want to spend any of these $300. And don't bring any more cash than that. It's a total mistake. Bring a debit card that doesn't charge international transaction fees. Perhaps you want to go to a local bank ahead of time just as a convenience and get $100 turned into Philippine pesos. You'll probably lose $5 versus getting it at an ATM here in the Philippines. You should have a PayPal account or a Remitly account or a Western Union account so that if, God forbid, you lose your phone, you lose your wallet, you can borrow a computer and you can wire yourself or a friend, another expat, money. For example, someone can send me money in Western Union. I can, without going and standing in line, put it right in my GCash and then go to an ATM and give a friend some cash if he gets in a pinch. Do not bring a lot of cash. I recommend a Charles Schwab ATM debit card. I recommend you have a second debit card that you'll never use while you're here. And I recommend you have PayPal or another wire transfer service. Number 3, because I already shared which dating site. Number 3, people want to know, how do they get their OTP codes? Like, because you might be locked out of your bank. And so I've said this before. You can, if you're coming permanently, that's one solution. If you're just coming for 30 days, Verizon's going to charge you $10 per day for like half a gig, very little data. But if you take your SIM card out of your Verizon phone on the airplane and only use it if you need an OTP code or if you need to text people in the United States, you could also go on Wi-Fi calling and call people in the U.S., but it's going to cost $10 a day. But take that. You don't want to land with that in your phone. Boom, $10 out. As soon as the wheels touch down, you're out $10. So put that in your wallet. Take a piece of tape, stick it to a credit card, and the 2 or 3 times you need the OTP code, well, you can pay the $10. That's a solution. T-Mobile has an attractive international plan where they'll charge you $50 for 30 days. If you're just visiting, you can do that. It's not a lot of data, I don't think. I'm not an expert in that. If you're thinking about coming to the Philippines full-time, or if you're retired, get off that $50 a month cell phone plan. Use a company called Tello, tello.com. Order a SIM card. Once that SIM card comes, initiate the porting. They'll port your U.S. number or to the card, and then again, bring that SIM card with you, and you might even bring an old cell phone and leave your good iPhone in the room if you're not taking a lot of photos, and bring the old cell phone with the SIM card in there. It's $5.95 a month. I have it in my wallet. I just pop it in my phone when I need an OTP code, or if I want to call, unlimited phone calls, unlimited texting. It's like I'm in the United States. I can make all the texts and all the phone calls. I can call banks. I can call institutions. I can call Social Security. $5.95 a month. I think it's a good solution if you're still in the West and you're retired. You know, you're using Wi-Fi 99% of the time. And if you do run out of data, you can go on the app and order $10 more data in that case. So that's number 3. Where do you meet? Which dating app should I use? Number 2 is your money. Number 3 is your SIM cards. Number 4 is where to go to meet women. Where should I go when I'm in the Philippines? How should I approach coming to the Philippines? And this is how I answer the question. If you're fortunate enough to have met a woman, you've been selective, and oh my God, she jumps off the page, you're video chatting an hour in the morning, an hour, now you think she's the one. Okay, then it depends on where she lives. If she lives in a major city and there's no security concerns, you're just going to change planes to Manila and fly to meet her in that city. You will probably have some family members or somebody else meet at the airport. If the chemistry's good and everything's going really well, you're going to want to meet her complete family within 2 or 3 days. I recommend you don't meet her family unless you're all in. You got to be all in, or at least in spirit all in. And, you know, now you need a year to really know each other, but you are sort of a pre-engaged. Okay, go ahead and meet her family. And if you're lucky enough that you met her and she was able to schedule 2 or 3 weeks off work, well, now you want to go and travel and see the Philippines and see where you might want to live in the Philippines, or talk about maybe bringing her back to the West and travel. Go to El Nido, go to Boracay, go to Coron, come to CDO, go to Davao, travel around. Like Chrissy and I, we went to 9 different cities in 30 days. We had like a honeymoon before the marriage. If you have not met anybody, well, I still recommend you fly to Manila, take the 10-minute taxi ride for $6 to Makati, splurge a little bit, $70 a night, stay 50 meters from the Greenbelt malls. Have a few days in a first world Philippine environment. Possibly fly a girl in to meet you. It's very easy to bus a girl in or fly a girl in to meet you for 2 or 3 days in Makati. Then you could go off to her family's province or her family's home, or go on to other cities. Another option is to go to Cebu City and just park yourself at the IT park. You know, it's an hour ride from the airport. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, heavy traffic. But once you get there, you don't really need to move. You could just stay there. Coffee shops, restaurants, night market, mall, office girls everywhere, good-looking office girls. You can just spend a week there. And now, it's a little difficult because they're working and they have odd hours, and you have to get in sync with that. And a lot of men that I have as clients have come to the IT park, and they have struck out because the girls are working, or they spent a week or two pursuing one and it didn't work out. It's not a guarantee. It's a target-rich environment, though, and the infrastructure's good. Now, there are a few other cities I'd like to recommend people go to. If they want a good infrastructure, highly organized place, they can go to Iloilo. If they want a nicely run big city, they can go to Davao, and there'll be a lot of beautiful women in Davao that you can meet. So it all depends on where you're at. If you think you found that special someone, you go down one path. If you've got 3 or 4 women, they're all top prospects, okay, you're going to take a different path. If you haven't met anybody yet, you got scammed, you went sideways with the wrong woman, you didn't give up, you're coming for boots on the ground, and you're going to use your tools. You're going to still have your online tools while you're here. Go to Cebu City for 7 days. Don't book the other accommodations. Don't book the other flights. You might have to pay $100 for a flight that could have cost $40. It's not that big a deal. Leave the flexibility in your plans. See who you meet. See who pops up online. You could be in Cebu City and boom, you meet a girl from Davao online. You're just going to go to the airport. You could take a day trip. You could one night out. You just keep your place in Cebu City. Keep most of your clothing. Just take a 36-hour trip to Davao to meet the girl. And if it turns out it's love at first sight, okay, revise your plans and buy some clothing and spend a week there. Leave the place in Cebu City empty. You're only going to be paying $38, $44 a day for a nice Airbnb in the IT park. So, and question number 5, people ask me quite often how to meet a highly educated woman. This is something people struggle with. And also, just a second, people are a little confused as to what age woman they should be targeting. If they're 65, 68, I have clients that are 74. I tell them all the same thing. In the Philippines, when a woman turns 30, she becomes what's known as a leftover. Now, I don't like the term. It's not my term. I'm just telling you what the word is here. And a lot of women, it takes them 3 years to get out of marriage and to get a real annulment now that some of them are being processed successfully. So a lot of women become like off market. They might have a baby and for 2, 3, 4 years, they don't date because they're technically still married. They're waiting for the annulment. They're trying to patch up the relationship for a year or two, and they know they're not that desirable with a 2-year-old child or a 1-year-old child. And before you know it, they're 28, 29. I met Chrissy, she was 29. And so now they're 28, 29, and they don't have many options. And one of the options they have is to become an overseas foreign worker, an OFW. And they can gain a lot of status and turn their life around by taking a nanny job or an elder care job or studying nursing and taking a nursing job overseas. Chrissy was 2 months away from having all her ducks in order, all her paperwork managed to go to Vietnam to teach English. A teacher here in the Philippines only makes like $450 a month. Now, they may get a few months bonus. In Vietnam, she would have made about $1,200 US a month with housing included. She would have been a hero with her family. The status she would have gained with her friends and family would have been really enormous. And that was a way for her to make a dramatic change. And her life had gone on a trajectory. She'd gotten a college education. She became a certified teacher. She began her teaching career. And then all of a sudden, because of a bad marriage, and now she's a single mother, everything turned bad, and her prospects were dim. And a smart girl, the kind of girl you're interested in, is going to either pursue being an OFW or you're going to go on the dating sites and look for a Western man. Quite often they'll have a relative, a schoolmate who met a Western man, got moved to California, Texas, is now working, making a good income, bringing other family members to the West, or they're married to a foreign man here in the Philippines, and they're living in a house like this, and they're shopping, and their kids are going to private school, and things are all looking up. They gain a tremendous amount of status. And so when they find a foreign man, even if the age gap is 37 years, like Chrissy and I, they gain an incredible amount of status in their community, within their social sphere. People perceive it to be a highly desirable relationship to be in, one that has a lot of benefits for them personally and their family members. That doesn't mean that you're taking care of family members or you're doing things you shouldn't be doing. It just means you're going to now have a stepchild, or you're going to have a woman who wants more children, possibly. If you are willing to have children, you'll get benefits from Social Security that are pretty large, and you will become even more valuable in the eyes of the potential mate here in the Philippines. So those are the questions, the 5 most asked questions I get. And I really encourage the men not to pursue middle-aged women above the age of 40 or 50. You'll be contacted by lots and lots of them, but there's an abundance of women in their late 20s and early 30s, mid 30s. That's sort of the sweet spot. Most of my expat friends that have been married 10, 15 years, they met their wives in that age range. Very few of them met older women or widowed women. There are some really terrific women you'll find, but they tend to have been OFWs for 20 years, or they tend to have been married to a wealthy Filipino. They kept themselves looking good. They kept themselves fit. They ate a good diet, and now they're 50 and they still look pretty darn good. So there are some gems out there, ladies, that I think you could find, but there's an abundance, and I don't think that you should settle for somebody your own age here in the Philippines. I think you should search through the abundance. If that is your flavor, if that is your desire, more power to you. You'll find that an even greater abundance of women in those age brackets. A highly intelligent woman can be a little bit difficult to find. You have to be more selective. You know, there's no one perfect dating app, or there's no one perfect resource. You know, I had one client who met an educated school teacher on a foreign affair, which is this outfit that's tries to monetize you through travel and through banquets, and they charge you for text messages and extra photos. And if you're not careful, you could run up a huge bill. But if you got the money, it could be a very good service for you. But one of the things that he mentioned, which is kind of curious, is if you did nothing but pay the $100 membership fee and then not use the service until you arrived in the Philippines, you could go into one of the 5 offices here in the Philippines. They have one, for example, in Davao. You could just go right into the Davao office. They'll interview you, make sure you're not an axe murderer. You'll pay $150 for the office visit certification, and then you'll go through a list and a book, and you'll have all these slightly more educated Filipinas that have joined the service for free, and they'll often have recorded videos or sang karaoke, and you know, you'll be able to read more extensive profiles, hear about their education. And if you want to go on a date, it's $125. You meet the girl in the office and off you go, and if you like each other, you can then communicate with the girl, and that's it. So that would be $100 to join in the West, $150 for the office registration, $125 a foreign affair, and they do this stuff in Latin America and other places. And you know, I've heard of one other person who met his wife at a banquet in Cebu City. I'm not promoting it, but I'm just saying that if you wanted to meet a highly educated woman, you wanted to completely avoid the online dating. You just wanted to fly into Davao, fly into Manila, fly into Cebu City, register. Don't go to the banquets where they have like speed dating. There's 150 women and 15 men, and the women all change tables. That's going to cost money. Don't text and send pictures. Don't get video chatting each other. That's going to cost a lot of money. You could spend $1,000 just chatting different women because they're charging you for all these interactions. You could just avoid that costly part of their service, and $125 to go on a date with a woman that looks on paper and their video, and you just meet. It's like a blind date, but that's not a bad way for some men to proceed if they just use the a la carte approach to a foreign affair. Now, me personally, I'm too cheap to enter into a high price service. So I just have most of my clients go to Filipino Cupid. I think it's about the same as Christian Filipina. I don't know that there's that much difference. I've heard from a lot of people. I don't have any personal experience, so I just think it's like a casino. It doesn't really matter which one you go into. You just have to have discipline. You have to have your need to have list, your nice to have list in mind. Never deviate. If you don't want to date a smoker, if everything about her is perfect and she smokes, don't date her. Next, it's a high abundance environment. You have an abundance, an avalanche of available women. You are the most desirable. You are the 12% in the Philippines. FlyMeToThePhilippines at gmail.com for private consultation. Chrissy will be back next time. See ya.